Joe, what is the one position battle you're looking forward to the most?
I would definitely have to say probably corner. You look at, and I've always kind of lived by this, and Rex used to say this, that the fastest way that you could lose a football game is at quarterback and cornerback. You look at our corner situation, and there's a lot of battles to be had there. Burris is a guy that's solid. We're excited about him. Claiborne is a guy that we brought in. We're saying, hey, can he stay healthy? There's a lot of questions with Roberts as well. He's a guy that I like. Buster Screen's kind of coming off of a bad year. But especially after that, it's free-falling. There's battles everywhere after that, and especially when you look at the situation of the way that Todd Bowles runs his defense. He keeps about 7 corners generally. So you got guys like Dexter McDougal that need to step up, Xavier Coleman, Bryson Keaton, where is he going to be? Marcus Williams is a guy that a lot of people are talking about might not even make the team this year. So he hasn't looked very good, especially last year. Coming in this year in camp, he didn't look very good either. People are really down on him. So there's a lot of battles in this cornerback position, man, and I'm excited to see that. I'm especially excited to see what Justin Burris brings this year as well, because there's still some questions about him too in coverage, especially with smaller, speedy receivers, because he's such a big guy. Often they use their speed, they get on top of him. He has a tough time recovering. We saw that last year. He was getting dusted from time to time. So I'm excited to see that battle the most.
Yeah, no, there's so many. It's so funny. A couple of weeks ago, we've had callers taking Jets to have a top 5 defense, a top 8 defense, all this stuff, and all I see, Leonard Williams and Mo and Sheldon, and you got to hope Jamal Adams is everything that we think he's going to be. And after that, Joe, it's like, man, I keep harping on Darren Lee, but I think it's just once you cut David Harris, the spotlight is glaring on Darren Lee. It is. He has so many areas he has to improve. He has to diagnose defenses. He has to get to the ball carrier, not over-pursue, take better angles, coverage. He's got to do so many things. Then Demario Davis, listen, like I said, I don't care if he's lost weight. I don't care if he's done yoga, jiu-jitsu. I don't care if he's doing taekwondo. I don't care if he swims 17 times a week. I think we know what he is. So you have him. Then you got to hope Jordan Jenkins takes his game to another level. I think he can. And then here's the 2 question marks that I have is Lorenzo Malden and Dylan Donahue. What are we going to get out of them? Malden has shown flashes when he's, at his proper weight. Nice job with that, Jets. But now it's like, can he, with the help of Kevin Green, make an impact, a consistent impact? Not 1 sack every 3 weeks, not 1 sack every 4 weeks, or 2 in one game and then vanish. It's got to be consistent, Joe. And then can Donahue use his speed and get – we need to have a pass rush without blitzing. You need a guy to create havoc. They used to be Mo for a while, Sheldon and Leonard up the middle. But if you can get a linebacker to do that, it makes the defense so much more dangerous. But we don't know if we have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even going back to you, like you were saying, there's people that are calling in and saying, hey, we're going to have a top 5 defense. All those names you just brought up, you said Leonard Williams. He's a guy that I think can, has definitely improved every single year that he's been here. We think he's going to be a staple. Now, you talk about Sheldon Rich and Muhammad Wilkerson. Honestly, when have those guys really shown, like, together on the field? When has our defensive line really dominated anyone? So if we're talking about this year being the first year where we're, they all on the field together will actually show up and put up numbers. So that's something that we need to see there. You just talked about Dylan Donahue and Lorenzo Malden. Those are 2 guys who need to show up and show out as well. Like you said, we need a pass rusher. We need a certified pass rusher. Another guy that needs to step up is Freddie Bishop. Freddie Bishop is the guy that was getting all types of sacks over the CFL. Comes here, he hasn't done too much of anything either. We need guys that can get to the quarterback.
That's why they mismanaged him.
Well, either way, there's no numbers coming out of him. There's been no solidified pass rusher from him. And I will agree with you. Maybe he has been mismanaged within the defensive game plan. He's not the only guy that's been mismanaged on his defense either. Thanks to our defensive coordinator and Todd Bowles. But those guys have to show up and show out. We have to get some type of production from those guys. Malden probably more so because we're looking at him, and he's the only guy that has really shown us any type of flash to be a really good pass rusher here. But he's got to be way more consistent, like you said. The weight gain has jacked it up, and then he's just got to fix all those problems. So we'll see what happens this year, but that is definitely another battle we could look at as well.
Yeah, and the other thing with Malden is something nobody's really talking about is this off the field issue. I mean, it's a court issue now. What happens with that? Is that a legitimate issue? If it is, does he get suspended?
Yeah.
Does he even get cut? I mean, that's something that we don't want to talk about as a player that we both like, and he's been on here 3 or 4 times. But listen, man, you start getting legal issues, and if it's true, that's another problem. And then if something does happen to him where he's suspended or whatever else, this linebacking core becomes a little bit more weaker. So it's interesting. Yeah. Like I said, the defense, while it has potential, but there's potential, but there's a lot of not only risk, but a lot of concern because you have to hope a lot of things work out to have a cohesive unit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of guys that have to step up because we talked about this before. The depth really has to put in work this year. Guys like Julian Stanford, Josh Martin, these are guys going to have to step up and fill roles as well.
Bruce
like
Carter.
Said, with David Harris, Bruce Carter too. We brought him back as well. These are all guys going to have to step up. They're going to have to be in those spots because with Harris being gone, like you said, you're putting Lee directly into the light. And Demario Davis, look, I'm not disrespecting the guy, but he is what he is, and I think we know exactly what he is. That's one of the reasons why he was let go last time. So a lot of these guys are going to have to fill holes because, we're going to need them.
Yeah, and the one thing that we had Steve on before, the one great point that Steve made, and it's true, is special teams. We don't talk about special teams all that much because there's so many holes and so many areas of concern, but this is a year where Brent Boyer has got to show what he's made of. The fact that he kept his job this year, to me, is mind-blowing, but that's just because Bowles is a clown. Dude, you have all this added speed, all these physical players, the tenacious players, high motors, all this stuff. There is no reason why this coverage unit should be better. This whole overall group should perform better. And I'm just surprised there's not a punter being brought in to give legitimate competition to Edwards because I thought he was average at best last year. So, special teams, there's no excuse why this unit should not get better almost immediately.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, man, that I think is really going to come back to bite us in the butt. You thought average at best, man. He was awful at times during the season. I'm talking about Shank. Yeah, he was shanking punts left and right. I mean, that was ridiculous to watch. And like you said, and I talked about this on a couple shows earlier when I brought up special teams, was, hey, we need to start talking about bringing in another punter here. We need to start talking about, bringing in competition for this guy because if he's going to just be able to be here and shank punts, then that's just ridiculous. Another, position that a lot of people aren't talking about since we let Nick Folk walk away, we, gave him the papers and got him out of here, is kicker. Look, I know a lot of people don't really care until it comes into crunch time and either you make the field goal and win the game or you miss the field goal and lose the game. A lot of our games could be really close this year if we're battling with a lot of teams. And special teams could definitely give us the edge a lot of times. And I'm looking to see who comes out of Costanza and Martin. Which one of these guys are going to step up? Is Canzaro the guy that's going to step up? Is he going to be a solid kicker this year? He's coming off of kind of a suspect year. Martin was a guy we've seen in the past when the lights were on. He wasn't very good. He was missing kicks left and right. So I'm looking to see what he brings as well. And like you said, look, I've talked about Brent Boyer. This is one of the guys that should not have been brought back. His special teams has gotten worse under him. Todd Bowles has been able to fire 2, special teams coordinators and just survive. So Brent Boyer's on the hot seat. If our special teams continues to be just as bad as it was last year, then he needs to be gone too. And also, who's our kick returner? Who's our punt returner? That's going to be important as well because we're going to need some very good field placement here, okay? Look, I'm not disrespecting our offense, but nobody thinks we're going to just blow the doors off of people. Let's help our offense out and give us some solid field position. This special team needs a whole overhaul. It needs another face, and Brent Boyer is going to be in charge of that, and he's got to get that together this year.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, this year should be about finding solutions. You've been finding answers, finding building blocks, finding all these things. And to put Band-Aids on anything this year is foolish. It's not the goal of this year. So, like I said, Catanzaro, I mean, he's taking a risk with him. I think in the back of his head, he's hoping that Ross Martin emerges. I think that's what he's hoping. He's hoping that a young guy emerges because guess what? If not, we'd probably go for another kicker next year. And there's a lot of these positions, Joe, where – it's like, I'm not going to be negative now. I'll say that till training camp starts. But it's just there are areas of concern that Mike McCagnon is taking calculated risk that if it blows up in his face, A bad season will be a putrid season where we're just sitting here every week
Absolutely.
like, what are we doing? We can't block. We can't tackle. We can't cover. We can't do anything. You know what I mean? It's just it's going to be interesting, man. He's really got to hope all these young guys emerge. And the whole rebuilding process makes sense if you're smart about it. You make quality signings. You do all these things. They bargain basement shop to a point where it's like, all right, you know what? If Demario Davis is your answer, what is your question? You brought in Mo Claiborne on a 1-year deal. I'm not sure why it wasn't 2 years, but also that was your marquee signing in the secondary. You know that's what you're doing. You have the two safeties, but the corners are still relative unknowns. I mean, Buster Screen, you can make an argument he could be cut. He doesn't, you know, like there's a lot of things. And then the offensive line, it's just, man, you know, training camps can be fascinating because there's going to be so many position battles. My biggest fear is that Bowles does not change and he doesn't give it a true open competition where the best man wins regardless of contract and name on the back of the jersey. That's my concern, Joe, because this is the year where we can't be like that. You need to know what we have when we have it. So next year when we have $75 million in cap space and all these draft picks, we can actually use them correctly.
And that's what, you know, that's where a lot of people were saying, hey, there seems to be a conflict in the front office because let me tell you something. If you're going to ask Todd Bowles, you know, not to coach for his job, because I do believe that his job is on the line. You know, if this guy comes out and the team stinks, there's no way you can bring him back here. So I think if, you know, it's sad to say, if it's close or if McCown just shows a bit more, I could see Todd Bowles going with McCown just to save his job, just to go with the veteran guy, you know, just to put him out there. But that would be damaging in the long run. And like you said, we cannot be like that. You cannot be like that because guess what? There's no future with McCown. We need to figure out what these guys are and what they aren't, and this is all part of the rebuilding process. So there's going to be a lot of battles coming up in camp, a lot of our positions, and we're going to see what a lot of guys are and what they aren't. And that's going to help us move forward because then we'll figure out what pieces we need to address and what pieces we need to keep.
Yeah, and like I said, like when Steve called in, my thing is this: day one of training camp, Todd Bowles brings in this entire roster, everybody, even the training staff, everybody. Today is a new day. You are going to earn every rep. You're going to earn practice time. You're going to earn your spot on the sideline. You're going to earn your spot on the field. Nothing is assumed and nothing is given, period. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what you've done in this league. I don't care anything. If you don't earn your reps, you're not playing, period. So that's the way it has to be. This is the way you change the culture here. If you got to start 11 rookies, start 11 rookies. Bench somebody that makes $17 million a year, guess what? On the bench you go. You got to cut somebody that's a popular guy in the locker room. I don't care who you are. You're getting cut. And that's how you truly rebuild. And that's day one of camp, dude. That's what you want to see. And dude, listen, we'll be at practice. We have, you know, press passes and all this other nonsense. We can go there. And, dude, the numbers don't lie. The film doesn't lie. Your eyeballs don't lie. We saw it last year. Listen, Jalen Marshall, we saw him catching balls in games. Every week, what did I tell you? He's fumbling the ball in practice. He's fumbling the ball in practice.
Absolutely.
Guess what he did during the season? He fumbled the friggin' ball. So
if
you're seeing the same thing this year, if you're not a consistent performer in camp, you shouldn't play. And if they do play, then Todd Bowles has learned nothing, and then he should be fired. The rebuild only works if you have accountability and you make everybody earn something. If they don't earn it, dude, we're back where we were last year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly along the lines of what I'm saying. It's all up to Todd Bowles, though. Like you said, Todd Bowles has to take the reins of this football team. You know, not just that, all the positional coaches that he's brought in as well. You know, the new corner coach, you know, Robin Nunn, our new defensive line coach, our new linebackers coach. All these guys have to bring these guys in and say, look, you're going to compete for your spot, period. You know, if you're out there loafing, if you're not getting the job done, we're getting you up out of here. And that's something that Todd Bowles has to do. And I'm hoping to see that because in the past, the guy has not done that. And that was one of the reasons why I thought he should be fired. If you look at anything that we've done here with Todd Bowles, he's always sided with the veteran. He's always gave the veterans way too much slack, and they've always screwed him over with it. So this guy has got to change, and he's got to breathe, because we've heard about accountability. We've heard about, guys out there, everybody's going to compete at every single position. That actually needs to be a sticking point here. That actually needs to happen. If you're loafing, you're gone. If you're not getting the job done, you're gone. If you're not better than the guy in front of you and you're not competing at that level, then, hey, there probably isn't a place for you here on this team. That's got to be a sticking point.
And the other thing, too, I hope Todd Bowles learned is to not assume. Do not assume anything. Do not assume that Mo Wilkerson is going to return to a dominant force. Do not assume that Sheldon Richardson is going to carry this year. Do not assume anything. Let them show you. Let Mo show you that, A, he's healthy, and B, he's motivated, and C, he's a team player. Let them prove it to you. Let Sheldon show you that when he's in his proper position, which hopefully is the case this year, that he can dominate. And if not, take reps away from them, Joe. Like, I'm seriously, day one,
exactly.
I think to me, it's a clean slate. Let everybody, including Mo, Sheldon, everybody, earn your spot. That's it. This isn't hard. This isn't rocket science. And if you're a dominant player, show it. Like I said, I don't care if Mo Wilkerson's been the year, having 6 years or whatever the hell it is. I don't care, because last year, the way he played last year, for whatever reason, he lost his right to assume anything this year, in my opinion. I don't care if it was the injury. I don't care if it was whatever it was. Too many birthday parties. I really don't care. The fact of the matter is he lost his wiggle room now with me. It's a contract year for him. It's a contract year for Sheldon. Show me what you got. If you don't care enough to perform in training camp and preseason, then don't play. Simple.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's all about making them work for it, like we've been saying. They've got to work for their spot. And like you said, if they're not performing at the level you believe they should be performing, then get them out of here and be gone. Like you said, don't assume. Nobody should be assuming anything. You have to have these guys out there working for it. Sheldon Richardson, no reason he should be at linebacker. He should be inside. Let's see what this guy does with his hand in dirt in his natural position. Let's see if Muhammad Wilkerson comes back. Is he ready to go? Is he in shape? Is he healthy? Let's see at that defensive tackle spot as well that we haven't talked about too much yet on this show. We're talking about our ends right now. We had issues stopping the run last year as well. What is Steve McClendon looking like? Are we going to see Deion Simon out there as well? When are we going to see this guy out here? He's supposed to be a second coming of Snacks. When are we going to see him dominating out there? Are we going to see guys giving it all their effort? And if they're not doing that, get them out of here. If they're not laying it on the line, if they're not performing, if they're not getting to where they need to be, if they don't know their assignments, if they're blowing their assignments, get them out of here, man. We don't have time for that anymore.
And the thing is, too, and like I said earlier, to me, I don't care about the salary cap, and I don't care about your contract. If you are not performing up to expectations, you should be cut. Or if you're a problem, if Sheldon, because keep in mind, if you're playing for a contract and you're not getting what you want, sometimes guys start mouthing off or doing things in the locker room. Listen, you become a problem. I don't care what your name is, whoever it is, you're gone. Cut. Take the cap hit. Listen, I'll even take it this far, Joe. If Bilal Powell and Elijah McGuire are just taking off in training camp, they look great. Dude, I have no use for Matt Forte either. Listen, you got to make tough decisions. Seriously. Because this year we have to find out everything we have. And if you have to take a $2 million cap hit, we're going to have $75 million next year. But with those reps that we give to these young guys are invaluable, especially if you have Hackenberg playing. If he can develop chemistry with these young guys, Matt Forte is not going to be here next year. You know what I mean? Why? Why even if these guys can prove they can play better than him, let them play. Why even have him playing?
Well, here's my thing with Matt Forte is this: unless there's three backs that are in front of him that are just absolute head and shoulders ahead of him, I wouldn't cut him. If you were going to cut Matt Forte,
why we cut Decker then?
Well, they cut Decker. That was stupid. Now, I didn't agree with that. I don't think anybody else did either. That was a dumb decision. That's what I'm saying. Don't compound a dumb decision with another dumb decision. You know what I mean? Like, you look at the situation with Matt Forte. Unless they're head and shoulders above this guy, like he just comes out and he's super slow. Like kind of like he was at the end of last year when the injuries were really taking a toll on him. I don't see why you get rid of Matt Forte because he's still a back that gives you, kind of playmaking ability out there as a receiving threat. He's definitely got to come out the backfield, catch the football. He's still kind of a matchup nightmare for certain backers in certain situations and formation. So, I wouldn't mind at all. If Elijah McGuire's taken off, who's a guy, that has ability, then, hey, let's hand the ball to Elijah McGuire. Let's give the ball, to Bilal Powell as well. Hopefully he's the starter this year, and we see, more from him, more of his role in the offense expand. But, just cutting Matt Forte outright, I wouldn't personally do that.
Listen, when the gloves come off in training camp, man, you got to put up or shut up. And if he's not putting up, he's out. Because, listen, dude, for me, it's about getting reps to the young guys, man. And the Jets' message, okay, if you cut Harris and you cut Decker, Forte and McClellan should be next. And maybe they're keeping them around for training camp to make sure that the young guys can stay healthy and do what they're supposed to do. But listen, if you're going youth, if you're going to go young, go young. It's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, the film's not going to lie. The performances aren't going to lie. Our eyeballs will not lie. And the spotlight will be on Todd Bowles and his coaching staff to hold guys accountable and make everybody earn everything. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, it's a year of no expectations, so there's not really any pressure. So, you know what I mean? Let them play.
Yeah. I mean, the spotlight is going to be on Todd Bowles as well, because he's a guy that he's got to command this locker room. Because we talked about it time and time again before. Last year, he pretty much lost the team. He's got to show that he's in control of this football team. He's got to show, hey, I'm the head coach, and I call the shots here. That's something that he's got to call.
No, and the other thing, too, is that this is another thing that I really want to focus on with him is this quarterback competition. I don't want to see a divided locker room. I don't want to see half the locker room saying, I want Josh McCown to play, the other half saying, let Hackenberg play. As a team, handle this like a professional organization where here's a novel idea. You meet with the team, explain your decision, and tell the team what to tell the media. Handle it like a first-class organization so you don't have like we had last year going down with the ship nonsense. You have listen, we decided to go with Josh McCown. The whole team says, okay. We decided to go with Hackenberg. We all say, okay, and we handle it. Bowles has to handle this quarterback competition much better than he handled it in the past. The way he handled it in the past was a farce. It was a complete joke.
Yeah.
So, when you see, we're not going to go down that path, the whole Fitzpatrick Geno thing, but he's got to handle it much better this year. From day one, the way he handles out the reps, giving everybody a fair chance, to once they make a decision, to as a team have the same method of communication, the same statements, no drama, no nonsense, no circus.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about in the past as well with him. And that goes back into my point of what I was saying as well, controlling this locker room, which is controlling, what gets out of that locker room, what gets the media. Like you said, there's no reason why they can't sit down, whatever they make their decision and say, look, this is the guy we're going with. This is what you're going to say. You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, don't answer any questions at all and just say, hey, the organization went with this quarterback and I'm behind it. That's it. That's all you have to say, point blank period. And that's going to be a big part of this as well, because that there's going to be writers out there that are going to ask questions that are looking for clicks, and they just cannot wait for you to give them something. And so Todd Bowles and the rest of his front office needs to be prepared for that, man. They need to make sure that these players know, what to say, what not to say, and, toe the line.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this media circus can be avoided. The Jets keep mishandling things. So now they've had, they've made mistakes with Decker and Harris. They've done some stupid things already. You now had a good month to figure out your plan for training camp. Let's not bungle it. I mean, the competitions are obvious. The performances are obvious. Have a clear and concise plan in place and follow it. And like I said, the goal now to be make decisions, discuss it with your team, and then have the team address the media in the same united way. Don't do it the way we've been doing it, where the guys are on the radio getting interviewed and getting asked questions about things they don't even know about. So that's something the Jets have to learn about. So, like I said, we're only a couple of weeks away, man. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to talk about some football finally, because this stuff's driving me crazy. But there is significantly more questions than answers right now.